I used to babysit my little brother Joey a lot. He was fairly easy to take care of. He was only in kindergarten, but he walked home from the bus stop every day and could make himself a PB&J, among other things. So he was pretty independent for his age. He was also very capable of entertaining himself with toys and drawing, so I got to do my own thing. One day, though, while our parents were gone, I was bored and felt like Joey might be lonely. He was on the floor of his bedroom, drawing with the door open. I asked if I could come in, and he said yes. I went over to him and looked at what he was working on. There were 3 other drawings on the floor. Crude portraits of me and her mom and dad. Joey was scribbling together a 4th portrait, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't interrupt him, though. I just watched it come together. It was a man, but Joey only bothered to draw the details of the top half of his face before grabbing a red crayon and scribbling a giant triangle over where his nose and mouth would have been. As Joey filled the triangle in with a bunch of swirls, I noticed that the size of the head matched the size of the portraits of her parents, being bigger than mine or Joey's, signaling that the person was an adult, whoever they were. However, when Joey finished the drawing and gathered the other ones to arrange them, he put our mom and dad together on top, then below them, me, the unknown man, and Joey, in that order, as if he was a kid like us. I asked Joey who the man was. He replied very plainly, "That's the Bandana Man," he said. I asked if that was his imaginary friend, and in the same nonchalant tone, he said, "No, he's real." I was a bit worried, so I asked a few more questions. Apparently, the man wore the bandana so he wouldn't get sick. This was during that time period, so that sort of checked out. Joey also said that he and the Bandana Man played almost every night. That information struck me as very hard to believe unless the Bandana Man was imaginary, because I knew Joey had only been playing alone. Unfortunately, when I asked if they had been playing past his bedtime, he stopped answering. I could tell he was getting annoyed with me, so I figured I should drop it for the moment. A few hours passed and our parents came home. By then, Joey had put all the drawings on the fridge. When my parents saw the Bandana Man, they were also concerned. However, they weren't able to get any more information out of Joey than me. We all figured Joey had conjured it up after seeing a cowboy movie or something, and tried not to fixate on it. But the drawing was right there in the kitchen, staring at me every time I sat down to eat a bowl of cereal in the morning. I couldn't get the image out of my head. One evening, on a Saturday, my parents were going to some big dinner party and said they wouldn't be home until around midnight, so we were supposed to be asleep when they arrived. I got Joey into bed around 9, but I stayed up for another hour or so before I went to bed. I lied awake for what must have been 30 minutes. Then I started to hear Joey talking to himself or his imaginary friend. I knew he wasn't supposed to be awake, but I didn't get up to tell him to go back to bed just then. I was very comfortable and didn't want to move. I contemplated letting Joey get in trouble if he got caught, or maybe just hollering at him from my bed. But after a few minutes, something else happened. There was a very light knock on my door. Then Joey's voice asking if he could come in. I said yes, and as he slowly opened the door, Joey said, "The Bandana Man wants to play with you." My blood ran ice cold when I saw a tall man standing behind Joey, wearing a red bandana as a mask. As I stared in shock and disbelief, the Bandana Man entered my room and approached my bed. I could hear his breath, heavy and excited. His eyes were wide with hunger. Then, Joey spoke again. "He doesn't want to play with me tonight. Just you," he said. Then he closed the door. I finally snapped out of it and screamed at the top of my lungs. I tried to jump out of the bed to run, but the man pounced on me, pinning me down. I kept screaming and trying to get away, but he crawled over me, keeping my arms down with his knees. He took the bandana from his face and stuffed it into my mouth. Then, he undid his belt and tightly wrapped it around my head to keep it in place. Just as I realized there was no way out of what was about to happen to me, I heard my dad calling out that he was home and that we had better be in bed. A moment later, he started scolding Joey for being up, Suddenly, the man jumped off me and ran out of the room. My dad shouted at him, and I heard him start to run. But the man managed to get back into Joey's room and escape through the window. I took that crap off my face and screamed louder than I ever had, immediately beginning to cry. I sobbed for a long time before I was able to say anything about what happened. I told the police everything, and they questioned Joey about it. The bandana man had befriended Joey one day on his walk home from the bus stop. Everybody was wearing a mask around that time, so he didn't stick out. He came into Joey's window every night and came to play with Joey, asking him questions about us and our parents, gathering information. When he knew our parents wouldn't be home for the night, he finally asked Joey to take him to me. If my parents hadn't come home an hour early because my mother wasn't feeling well, that would have been the worst hour of my life, potentially my last.